Good evening, everyone. I'm Rachel. I'll be your host tonight. We will be interviewing some of the people from Salem Village on the terrible trials that recently took place. First, we have Goody Proctor. Good evening, Goody.
Good evening, Rachel.
Well, to start off, what are your views on Miss Abigail Williams?
Well, I never really had a problem with Abigail. She was my housekeeper, and I bestowed a lot of trust on her. But that trust was broken when I found out that she had known my late husband, John.
Well, that's terrible.
Yeah, I fired her and believed she was out to get me. And thinking on it now, it's kind of ironic how things ended.
Wow, yeah. And how did you react when finding out about John and Abigail?
Well, as I said before, I made Abigail leave. I could not allow any more to be done against me. And with John, well, you see, I'm not really one to judge. I judged him not, and for that, he was a good man, and his guilt alone was the one that judged him. And you see, spending so much time away due to the accusations allowed me to realize I did run a really cold house. I was not a warm wife to my husband, and I take the blame for it. Although Abigail had no right to ruin me, John, or any of the innocent people of Salem Village.
Thank you, Goody, for your time with us tonight. Next, we have Mary Warren and her views. Good evening, Mary.
Good evening.
Your first question is it true that John Proctor forced you to confess the pretense of your accusations?
Yes, that is true. John forced me. He threatened me that he would kill me if he did not. He told us innocent girls that we were all lying. I only went along with it at first because he threatened me and my friends, but I had to tell the truth eventually. He learned the hard way that siding with the devil is a deadly sin.
How about the poppet that Goody Proctor found in your home? How do you know about that?
I actually did make the poppet in court. I stuck the needle into it. I was unaware of Abigail's plan to accuse Elizabeth. After Abigail accused me, I had no choice but to tell the truth about John. Abigail had control over the entire village and the court.
Thank you, Mary. Next, we will be speaking with Miss Abigail Williams. But Maddie will be your host next because I'm getting a little hungry. So I'll see y'all later.
Abigail, thank you for joining me. Now, would you please like to explain to us your reasoning for causing all of this commotion?
Well, I wanted to get rid of Elizabeth. I was so in love with John, and I wanted him all to myself. She was the reason why it ended. So if I could get her out of the picture, then we could be together. But when the trial started and everyone looked up to me and praised me for all the work I was doing in the court, I loved the power and the fame from everyone in Salem.
I see. Now, if John Proctor were here right now, what would you have to say to him?
I would tell him how sorry I was for everything that happened.
John!
I'm so sorry for everything that happened. I only wanted you to be with me. I wanted you to leave with me to Boston. I know that now, that was not the right way to handle things. Please forgive me.
Thank you, Abigail. Now, John, would you mind staying and answering some questions for us? Hello, John. Thank you for staying and answering some questions.
Hello.
So what went through your head when you began your affair with Abigail Williams? And what led you to start this up with her while you had her life?
Well, this is very difficult for me to speak of. I'm ashamed of myself for the actions I have taken. The time leading up to my affair with Abigail, I had felt as though my wife no longer felt the same way about me, and Abigail was there to pick me up when I was down. I don't want you to take this the wrong way, though, and think that I am blaming this on my wife, Elizabeth. She definitely didn't make me do any of this. This was all my doing.
Now, John, throughout your life, would you have changed anything or done anything different?
Well, I feel as though the mistakes I have made have turned me into the person I am today. I have learned a lot from my mistakes, and I deserve anything that came my way. If I were to take back anything I have done, it would be the fact that I have known Abigail. For the sake of my family, I only want what is best for them.
I see. Thank you, John. Rachel will be back shortly, and she'll be interviewing Mr. Putnam. But after this commercial break, buy your own screen mask available at any store. so you can look like John Proctor too.
Alright. Next we have Mr. Putnam. Hello, Putnam.
Good evening.
So, your question is, when you saw your Ruth sick, what were your initial thoughts?
Well, I was scared for her life. I mean, at first, there was no way that it had anything to do with witchcraft in my mind. Then we came to Mr. Paris and found his Betty was in the same condition. And that's when I knew. My wife, Anne, she was the most scared. The one who was really upset because we had already lost 7 of our children. And she, well, we could not lose another.
Okay, thank you. And what is your opinion on Giles Corey's accusations towards you?
Giles Corey's accusations, well, those are outrageous. He claims that I accused my daughter Ruth on who to accuse of witchcraft. And that's outrageous because clearly my daughter was suffering and she was targeted by all these witches. I had nothing to do with it. Nothing.
Thanks, Putnam. Next, we will interview Reverend Hale. Good evening, Reverend.
Good evening.
Your questions are, after leaving Salem, what were your thoughts about the trials?
I thought it was all nonsense. Girls made up all those lies for sport. It is such a shame that so many had to die for nothing. This town is full of crazy people. I wish I would have realized that earlier.
Do you feel guilty?
Of course I do. It was all my fault. I believed I could find all the witches, but there were none. No one believed me when I found out they were all lying. Proctor told me from the beginning and I never believed him. It is my fault he is dead. God rest his soul.
Thank you, Hale. And for our last guest, we have Mr. Paris. Good evening, Mr. Paris.
Good evening.
Your first question is, what worried you most about the trial?
I was worried that I would lose my job. With so many respectable people being accused, such as John Proctor and Rebecca Nurse, being hanged, I was worried that the court would be overthrown, like it was in Andover.
After being fired as Reverend, have you thought about the trials?
Yes, I feel terrible for taking place in the hangings. So many people were accused, and yes, out of fear and good reason, they were tried. We later realized that the evidence was not firm enough, and that many people were sent to jail for sport. I am sorry to these people and their families who were affected.
Yes. Well, thank you all for tuning in, and thank you all to our guests tonight for coming in and being a part of our show.
Good evening.
Thank you, Goody, and your time.
Yeah.
I already introduced you.
Dun, 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 dun.
Action.
Do you feel guilty?
Of course I do.
The lighting. Action.
Do you feel guilty?
Of course I do. It was all my fault. Stop touching.
If I were a ball.
I would lose my job. Worried that I would lose my job. So many
Are you sure?
respectable people being.
Shut up!